Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is Roy again here with Wrath Motorsports. Today we're going to cover a tip on relocating the harness inside the driver fender well. This applies to the 6th Gen Camaro, mainly those that want to get a drag radial, a 345 or a 35 series profile tire. So this is a 2017 Camaro SS1LE. It's got an L24 blower on it, 6-speed trans, and he wants to run a little slightly aggressive tire, an R888, a 315/30. But what ends up happening is if you run that tire, you end up chewing through a harness that's in here, and that's just going to cause all sorts of problems. So he brought the car by today so we can take care of this, and I figured I'd bring you guys along and show you the process step by step. So let's talk about some of the tools that we're going to need. Okay, so this is a fairly simple task. It doesn't revolve a lot of work, but these are the general tools that you're going to need. You're going to need some zip ties to secure the harness out of the way. You need these 3M, basically. These are pretty cool. I like it because you can zip a zip tie through there and then move it around and strap it up out of the way. And these stick various VHB, so it sticks very good to the frame rail, just as long as you clean it. So inside the metal, inside the fender, sorry. You're gonna need a pry tool so we can get some of these clips off. And then I have a torque set over here, a flashlight so you can see what you're doing or any kind of light that you choose, and a wheel lock key. These wheels are probably on here super tight, just from what I can see. So I have a feeling that the traditional braking is not going to do, so we're going to have to use this guy. So, and lastly, you're going to need some alcohol here and some rags to clean the work area. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, so first things first, we're going to get the car up in the air. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to do it on jacks. This is what you guys mainly will be doing. He's got the pinch welds already, the pinch points on there, so I didn't have to use mine, which is good because it makes it a lot easier. He's got the carbon fiber, so you got to be careful there. Just be mindful, but good thing those pinch welds hang lower, so there's no way that the jack is going to strike it or cause damage. But if you are a little bit sketch, you can put some of these pads. They have pads, and you can just put the rubber blocks on there to get that extra clearance. In this case, it's not required. So get the car up in the air and then loosen up the nuts on the wheel, on the rear. This is a drive wheel, so with the parking brake, we should be okay. But what I'm gonna do is I just gonna slightly lift it, get some of the torques off of it. So basically break them loose, and then get the car up in the air, take them off, and pull the wheel off. So let's do that right now. All right, once we got the car in the air, make sure you support it with the jack stand. You can see it under there. Get it to a comfortable working height, and then get the wheel loose, get it off. And then what we're gonna do is, you can already see it's starting to do some damage. You can see the harness. We'll pull this apart, but you can see the harness in here. And look at that, it's already chewing. So what happens is, as the tire rotates, you hit bumps or the rear end squats for a launch, it goes in and chews through the harness, and eventually you get all sorts of like ABS codes, the bullet track codes, and you wonder what the hell is going on. So it gets really expensive, so this is something simple that can be done to avoid that. So I just yanked the wheel off, and as you can see, someone has had a drag pack or something on here because it's already starting to do it, and there's actually a harness right, look at that, it's already starting to chew through the liner. So let me get this pulled back. You can see the harness in there. Let me get this pulled back. Okay, so in order for us to remove the liner, we don't have to remove the whole thing. What I generally like to do is just get half of the fender bolts off of there and then fold it over. It's very flexible, it's malleable, it's super strong material, so it'll fall back in no place. So save the time from getting the whole fender off, just fold it over. We're only gonna be working in this area. So in order to get that, we're gonna use our little pry tool here. We're gonna pry this guy off, take these guys off, take this guy off here, and then just work your way all the way up. This can screw off by hand as well, and we're gonna get to about here, everything here forward. In terms of the torques, you're gonna need the torques for this guy, you're gonna need the torques for this guy down here, and you're gonna need the torques for the one in the fender. Lastly, we have another swivel here that we're gonna take this off. It's just a little plastic retainer. We'll unscrew that, and then we should be able to fold the fender over. So let's get started with that right now. All right, a quick tip. We're gonna need a small extension, and it's an actual T15 for the torques. So you can see the torques driver here. And I'm just gonna keep them all together just because this is all the tools we need to do. But once everything is off here, what we're wanting to do is just make sure everything is off, and we're slowly gonna grab this fender and peel it back as I'm doing right now. Just be careful, don't overdo it, take your time, and that'll give us access to the harness. So let's do that now. All right, once again, like I said, roll the fender back over. What I like to do is tuck it behind the rotor and fold it back just right before this fender. It's not a sharp bend or anything. It's not gonna pinch the fender. It'll lay right back in place. So once we get that, let's take a look at the harness that we're talking about. So it's gonna be this harness here. I know it controls, I wanna say it's your ABS, StabiliTrak. I'd have to look it up. It's been a minute. But yes, this is no good. And as you can see down here, it looks like he's already had a drag pack, because this doesn't do this with stock tire. The customer just bought the car, brought it over, it was already supercharged. He just wanted us to look at it, and we noticed it right away and just wanted to address it because he wants to get wider tires. So once I zoom in, you can see the harness kind of chewing up through here, and it corresponds with the hole in the fender that you guys see right there. Usually that's from the larger drag radials that they run at the track. When the car squats, the tire rotates and it causes that. And over time, what happens is it chews through, and as you can see, it starts to eat away at the harness. So we are going to relocate this guy out of the way, and that way it's not affected by this area here, and it's somewhere else, so we don't have this problem. So the next step we want to do is just simply remove these clips, and this is where your little pry tool is going to come in handy. Once again, take your time. You can cut these clips off. I move them out of the way in case, you know, the customer wants to like put it back to stock for whatever reason. I move it out of the way, but if it's your car and you don't care, you could just cut them, pry these guys off. So that's what I'm going to do right now. We'll just stick the pry tool in here as such, find it, and then literally you can see the pry tool. So we'll get it in there as best as we can, and then we'll just pry it off. So I'm holding my phone right now. I can't do it, but you guys get the picture. All right, so now this is where I preemptively lay the harness. As you can see, one of the reasons I don't remove the clips is because I can repurpose it. So I can take this clip and repurpose it for here. There's already a hole in there, and then it'll sit exactly where it needs to go. So this is kind of a mock-up. Even if the tire goes up, it's not gonna like scrape or bottom out, because normally the tire doesn't go that high, and if it does go that high, it's not gonna like pinch the harness or anything like that. So find a position where it lays out of the way, outside of, you know, the wheel well. If you want to come at an angle, it doesn't matter. If you want to come straight over here, it doesn't really matter. Just find a position that works for you, and then yeah, we'll kind of clean it up a little bit. Now what I like to do is just kind of zip tie it to the brake line, just the top part where it's very sturdy, and there's a nut there, and then tuck the excess back where it originally comes from the factory. So the excess is just going to sit here, lay nice and neat with no tension, no stress, no sharp bends. All right, so as I said, first things first, let's get this guy cleaned up. So there's a lot of debris and dirt and stuff that builds over time. So what I like to do is just take some IPA alcohol, totally optional, right? If you get it on the harness, it's fine, and just clean around the work area. We're not detailing a car here, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But what I want to do, what my goal is to promote adhesion on the 3M tape of the little sticky. So once I get that in there, go ahead and clean this guy up. All right, so the area is clean. You can see I've already loosely got these guys in place where I want them. And you can see once the area is clean, you peel the back off the VHB, and then hold it there for about 15-20 seconds, and then you can secure it. What I like to do is just secure it very loose until I get all of them in place, and then I'll go back and strap them and then flush cut them and make them nice and neat. So let's do that now. But you can see harness has already been tucked out of the way. This is the general area we want to avoid, basically from here over. The harness comes in here, and that's not a good sign because we don't want that. All right, so here is the finished product. As a reminder, these I leave on. You can cut them off if you really want it to look cleaner, but flush cut your zip ties. We're avoiding this area. And then as you can see, this is already secured right here. It's got a, I don't know if you guys are able to see, but you can see it's already secured from the factory. So what I just like to do is give this enough slack to move around on its own, because the fender liner is going to come back here and push this out of the way. So you're not going to see it because it's going to kind of hold it here, so it's not going to be visible, and you're also not causing necessary bends or stress on this area. So that's about it. Once we're done, let's put the fender back in this position, and then we'll see what it looks like once it's all done. All right, so this is the finished product with the fender rolled back. As you can see, these are just loosely screwed in. Line up the hose, dab the hose right here, line them up, screw them in, put the Torx back in, fold this over, put the wheel done. But if you look, before we had a harness that ran over through there, and now it's not. So even if this guy wants to, the harness is out of the way. It's way underneath in there. So in order for the tire to actually go through, you'd have to chew through this metal, through the metal part right here, this piece of the chassis, or sorry, the piece of the body. And once it chews through that body piece, which the rubber tire is not going to be able to do, it's going to disintegrate, obviously. Then it's going to get to the harness. So one quick tip. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. But let's get this back together. Let's get it on the ground, torque to spec, and she is on her way. All right, so here's the finished product. Once we're all done, we got the plugs back in place. Your torque 15. Be careful when you tighten those up. Don't cram them in there. Just get them snug. And then once these two are on, this one, fender's rolled back. No harness here. As you can see, that's where the old harness used to run across, just right down here. Not a thread anymore. So you can throw a set of drag radials. It is going to continue to chew through the fender. You can either keep replacing fenders, or it's just one of those things you have to live with. You put a tire on here, it is what it is. So there's no harm, there's no damage, nothing's gonna happen with the ripped fender. If anything, people just pull them off. So leave it as is, or keep buying fenders, your call. Let's put the wheel back and get it torqued and back on the ground. All right, so we got the wheel snug, we got the jack stand removed, we've lowered the car. Now we're gonna go ahead and torque them. These are not OEM lugs, so you have to look and make sure they can be torqued to spec. If you're running like welds, or they have like not the stainless steel, but they're like the aluminum ones, those cannot be torqued to spec. So if you're running these aftermarket lugs, just make sure, look on the box, Gorilla, whatever they can, double check, make sure they can. These are not going to have a problem, but something to be mindful of. So let's set the torque wrench up to the specified torque and go ahead and torque them. And once that's done, you're good. Remember, crisscross pattern. All right, y'all, so that completes the job. All in all, it should take you no more than 45 minutes, and that's with you taking your time. So this car's good to go. It doesn't have to worry about any harness issues when he wants to run drag radials or a wider tire. He's safe to run that Toyo, that 315 3020 like he wants to, and we don't have to worry about any of these issues. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure you share this with a friend, or invite them to our group or our YouTube, wherever you're watching this, and definitely share whatever content you want to see. We're definitely going to try to roll this out on a regular basis to help you out. So if there's any video that you want to see or you want to know about, if we have it in the shop, we're going to do it. Or if we see it more than 3 times, we'll make a video on it. So thank you for tuning in, and you have a wonderful day.